Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from AttaboyCowboy, and in today's video I want to talk about my most frequent trip to the Amazon to visit my shaman. Now, one of my friends was asking me, why do you go there to visit him so much? You know, what are you getting out of it? What do you do? And I thought about it, I thought, well, that's a good question. Why do I? You know, because we don't always do ayahuasca or yahe. We do different treatments. And this time was totally different, like every time I've seen him. And my answer to her was kind of like, well, you know, it's kind of like having a teacher or a mentor, someone that teaches you. And what really impresses me about him is his simplicity. You know, I'm from a big city. I'm a fairly educated guy. I went to school 15 years. I have 12 college degrees. You know, I work in things where I use my mind a lot. I write books, I work in hospitals, I do a lot of reading every day, hours and hours a day, because I enjoy it. And, you know, as much as I think I might know, I meet someone like the shaman, and it just reminds me of how little I know and how much there is to learn in the world. And it's oftentimes the people that you think that are just simple that really like blow you away. And this guy just blows me away every time I see him. So when I went to go see him this time, we talked for about 2 hours, and you know, we talked about a lot of things that were happening in my life, and he was sharing with me stories about his experiences and giving me feedback on how to do things better, etc. And then he pulls out this little flask, and it's like powder. And I said, what is that? He says, this is sansara. And he looked very giddy. He was really excited. I said, okay. He goes, I just came back from a meeting with the elder shamans in the Amazon. I said, all right. And I guess it sounded like he had never done it before. This was an herb. It was just like powder that was ground up. It came out of a tree, a brown powder. And he says they do this about once in their lifetime. So I guess he had reached the point where he was ready to receive this blessing or this lesson. I was like, okay. So he told me he was going to share with me. And he told me, you do this only once in your life. And I said, wow. I said, okay, all right. So he pulls out this big, looks like a mix between a straw and a pipe. He pulls it out and he says, okay, close your eyes and breathe through your mouth. And the first thing I thought was, oh no, I hope he's not gonna make me smoke something, because I'm not into that, you know? But then I also started thinking really quick about this experience I had when I went to go see the Dalai Lama. I went to the Himalayas and I studied for about a week, my friend Margot, and it was awesome, you know? And during the day, the days were long. There were about 8 hours of classes. I was thinking, okay, we're gonna have a lunch break or something. But no, there was no lunch break. He just talked and he just taught us stuff all day. And I started getting hungry and I thought, okay, so what's the deal here? We're gonna eat or what? And all of a sudden the monks started walking around with this pocha. It's called yak butter tea. And I thought, whoa, man, that doesn't sound real good. I don't know if I want to eat that, you know, or drink that or whatever, because I'm thinking of butter. For a second, I thought that. But then I thought, wait a minute, this is the Dalai Lama. So yeah, whatever he says, I'm going to do it. So sure enough, they bring this tea around and I drank it. Oh man, it was amazing. It tasted kind of like tea, but buttery and thick and creamy and kind of salty. There was no sugar or anything. So it's basically kind of like tea with butter in it. It was really good. It was really filling, satiating, and also it helped you concentrate because it's all fat. And that's what your brain needs to be more effective, is fat. So I thought, man, of course, this is the Dalai Lama. You know, he's a divine being. Of course, he's going to give us the perfect snack so we can learn as much as possible here. So I thought, okay, the shaman's telling me to do it. I'm going to do it because I have that kind of faith in him. So I closed my eyes and started breathing through my mouth. And we started just kind of, he was chanting and I was kind of meditating. And all of a sudden, I just felt the straw, which wasn't really a straw. It was made out of like a bark, like kind of like a tree branch. It slid up into my right nostril. And then I felt him blow really hard, kind of like, you know, like they blow a dart gun, like that. And I started kind of coughing and I just focused and relaxed. And I felt the dust blow into my frontal and my maxillary sinus here and just coat it. And I never really felt anything blown into my sinus before, but I guess that's what it must feel like when you inhale something I've never had the experience of inhaling a powder into my nose, and it just felt like I could feel the outline of the sinuses in my frontal sinus here and my maxillary sinus under my cheekbone. But then I started feeling the left side of my brain kind of slowing down and becoming more focused. And for those of you that are familiar with neurology, the way the brain works is the left side of the brain controls the right eye and the right side of the body, and the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body. Okay, so I took it up the right nose and it went directly to the left side of my brain. And what I felt was not like I drank coffee or anything like that. It wasn't a stimulatory effect. It was kind of a calming effect. Kind of like I had a lot of thoughts in my mind and it just kind of started narrowing them down into what was happening in the moment, which is what I'm doing right now, just thinking about what I'm saying to you, okay? And he waited a few minutes. I still had my eyes closed. I was still breathing through my mouth. Then I felt it slide into my left nose and another deep push of air into my nose. And again, I could feel it blow into my sinuses here on the left side of my face, my frontal, my maxillary sinus, and then I felt the same effect on the right side of my brain. I just felt it kind of slowing down. And we meditated for a little while, and then I said, okay, do you want to go for a walk? Typically when we do some of these herbal treatments or ayahuasca, whatever, we go and do like a walking meditation. And he said, no. He said, I just want you to close your eyes and meditate, he says, because when you go for a walk, your brain starts focusing in on things on the environment and you become distracted. He goes, when you close your eyes and meditate, pray, then your brain goes inwards and you kind of just think about what's going on inside of you. And I thought, okay, so that's what I did. And of course I started thinking about different things. And as I was sitting there thinking, I felt part of my brain kind of waking up, just being more alert. And it was kind of an interesting feeling because I've had this with some of the other experiences with this shaman. My brain wakes up, but yet I'm more focused. So typically you drink coffee or something or some type of stimulant, a caffeine, you become more excitatory. You know, you're stimulated, you're more alert, but then you're also more like sporadic. And this is a different sensation. You're more alert, but you're more focused. It brings it into one place. Then we started talking again, and there were about 3 lessons that I took away from this, okay? Now, again, I did this about a week ago, and I thought about filming the same day so I could explain what was going on, but I could just feel intuitively that I needed time. It's been about a week. I needed this to soak in so I could kind of really explain what kind of transformation had happened to me this time. And that's what I was explaining to my friend, is that this guy lives out in the forest in the Amazon. And I'm from this big city, but yet this guy has a really deep understanding of how things work. And he's so intuitive that when I listen to him or he gives me advice, I really have to think because he's 2-3 steps ahead of me. And I'm just thinking, how does this guy that walks around in the forest with a loincloth know so much? You know, and it just goes to show you that it's not just what you read or what you can access on the internet. There's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge just out in the universe and in nature. And these guys apparently tap into the spirit world and they're able to gather this information and it helps guide them. It guides them, it teaches them, and that's how they expel their knowledge. So they're getting their information from a different source. I'm getting it from books and he's getting it from the life energy. It's all around us. It's kind of like he's just sticking a straw in it and taking a sip and feeding his brain and learning all these things, and then he shares it to me. And I'm like, wow, okay. So the first thing we talked about were relationships. I shared with him some of the experiences I was having with, you know, family, friends, etc. And it really made me think, because, you know, if you think about it, like a lot of our life is our relationships, trying to balance them with your wife, your husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, neighbor, brother, sister, parents, boss, etc. And relationships are supposed to be 50-50, to be in balance. Once they start getting out of balance, then that's when you start having like issues, okay? So how do you get the relationships back in the balance? So it's 50-50 instead of 49-51 or 60-40. First thing is, don't judge. If you judge people, then you become a judge. You don't want to do that, because that puts your relationship out of balance. It makes you think you're kind of like superior or better than someone, and we're not. We're all the same, everybody. The homeless people, you know, the president of the United States, you know, Brad Pitt, whoever, we're the same. So it brings you back in the balance, and then it kind of makes you think, okay, so how do you keep this in balance? You try to understand the person. Don't judge them. Just try to understand where they're coming from, why they act the way they do, why they do certain things they do. And that helps you. It helps you become more intuitive, more intelligent. You become more compassionate, and you just become a better person. It becomes easier to be around you. If you're a person that's always judging, that's going to cause conflict, okay? And remember, after I left this session with the shaman, I came back to Los Angeles, and I immediately started seeing dozens and dozens of people a day, mental health clinics, drug rehabs, hospitals, nursing homes, home health, everything. And a lot of the people, I talk to them, and pretty much everybody I see, I have to talk to them, and I enjoy talking to them. They share with me what's going on, and I relate back to what the shaman tells me. And it's interesting how he lives out in the forest, but whatever he teaches me, it's true anywhere. If I read a lot, and some of the best authors say some of the things that he says, but yet he hasn't read any of these books. He just has it in his head. The second thing I took away from our session was I was talking to him about how I was having problems getting started on some of my projects. All of us procrastinate. It's part of human nature, right? And I started talking to him about my writing and some of these other things. I've just been kind of stuck lately. I haven't been able to do much. So he said, mood follows action. Damn, that's pretty deep. Mood follows action. I said, okay. He said, rather than waiting inspiration to strike you, he said, what can you do yourself right now to get started? The motivation is the product of the action. And I thought, how do I understand that? All right, well, this is what I came up with. I swim in the mornings, okay? I get up about 4 or 5 in the morning. I get ready, I go to the pool. And there's mornings where I say, you know what, it's cold. Maybe I should stay in bed. I don't know if I want to go in that cold water. Maybe the pool's closed today. I kind of start trying to psych myself out of it, okay? And that's normal. Most humans don't want to exercise because evolutionary wise, it's not in our best interest. When scientists study how much time we spend sitting, because they say sitting is the new smoking, it causes a lot of damage. They say, well, how much time did people used to sit? And actually, we're sitting about the same. The difference is that cavemen, hunters and gatherers, they sit for most of the day, but when they get up, they move a lot. They go hunting, they go running or whatever. We go to work and we're sitting, and that's kind of like our active time. Maybe we get up, go to the bathroom, go eat lunch, but we're not very active. We're kind of chilling out. Now we get home, we sit more and we watch TV. So that's the difference. Our non-sitting time is not very active, okay? So your brain is always looking for easier things to do, and exercise is not one of the things your brain wants. So it's normal human behavior. But once I get into the pool, I enjoy it, and I think, wow, I really like this. And I swim really hard because I start thinking about my muscles getting bigger and being fit and trim, and I like that. I want to feel good. My mind's more alert. I feel more focused. I just feel a lot healthier when I exercise. And then after I'm done exercising, I feel great. I'm really proud and happy that I achieved this. Oh, good. I'm glad I got up and I swam for 2 hours. That's very rewarding. I'm happy I did it. And then I get started in the rest of my day, okay? That's kind of how I think about his comment about mood follows action. If I just act and go to the pool, then I start developing the mood for it. I kind of start enjoying it more. So ever since he told me that, that's what I've been doing. Like stuff I've been stuck on, even like making this video. I just started filming it. And then as I'm going along, my brain starts flowing, the dopamine starts going, I start feeling happy, and I enjoy making these videos. So here we are, I'm making the video. So I'm approaching a lot of things like that in my life right now, and I'm trying to keep that in mind. And I have it written actually on different parts of my house and the walls. Mood follows action. So the third lesson I learned was, he said, behavior first, thoughts, feelings, and emotions will follow. And I thought, okay, how do I relate that back to my experience with the pool? And I thought, well, it makes sense. You just do what you gotta do, like me jumping in the pool, and then all my feelings, emotions, and thoughts will align with what it is I need to achieve, what I need to do. So before I got to the pool, I was thinking, oh, it's cold. Maybe I don't need to exercise today. I did a lot yesterday. Maybe I can use that time to get this done for work, or maybe do something else, pay some bills. But no, I know that what I need to do is swim. So if I just jump in the pool, then everything else will line up, and it does. Once I jump in the pool, all of a sudden I have time to swim for 2 hours, and all of a sudden the things I thought I needed to get done urgently are not so urgent. I actually have time to do them later in the day. So it's kind of interesting how it lines up. So it makes things very actionable to breaking them up into steps. I need to go swimming. That's something I need to do. If I just jump in the pool, what I tell myself in the morning is I'll jump in the pool, and once I'm in the water, if I decide, you know what, I got too much to do, then I'll get out of the pool, I'll get dressed, and I'll come back home. But obviously that has never happened, because once I make the effort to actually get in that pool, I'm already in the pool, so I'm gonna follow through with what I need to do. So those are the 3 main things I learned this week. And the difference I feel physically is that I'm much more focused. Typically, like in this video I'm recording and I'm talking to you, I might be thinking about, like, I gotta write notes, I gotta see these patients, I don't know, just different things that are kind of popping in my mind. They call it the monkey mind. And that's why we meditate, that's why we practice mindfulness, that's why we do a lot of these activities that I do to try to improve that. But remember, nothing is perfect and you can always improve. So doing my treatment with the shaman on Sansara actually brought me in a lot more focused. I'm able to focus in on just the one thing I'm doing. Like if I'm reading this book, I'm just thinking about this book, okay? I'm reading the book, I'm not thinking about these other things, and I'm doing a better job reading the book and understanding the book because I'm much more focused. So I feel like I'm more in the moment, like they say in Buddhism. I'm living in the moment more, and every time I see him, I learn something new and I improve. And that's why I like to see him. And remember, throughout your whole life, you're always gonna improve. You always can improve if you invest the time. And that's what I feel. I feel like I'm just learning how to do things better, thanks to my teacher. So, in summary, as I told my friend, one of the reasons I fly all the way to the Amazon to see this shaman that lives out in the forest is because I realized that he knows a lot more than me. He's very wise, and for you and for all of us, to be a better person, to be more knowledgeable, a really important thing is to be humble and to realize that there's always more things to learn and you have to be teachable. If you're not teachable, you're gonna kind of reach your ceiling. You have to always keep an open mind and let people guide you to where you need to go. It just so happens this guy lives in the rainforest, and that's why I have to go over there to see him, because this guy teaches me things that not very many people I know have been able to teach me. And that's what I'm seeking, is to learn and to improve as a person. So thank you for watching, and from Los Angeles, California, this is Dr. Ernesto. Thank you and goodbye.